Ni hao, it's just Stephanie. Ha ha. Alright, I've been doing a lot of listening lately. Wait, where did my study plan go? Sorry, I was totally organized and then I pressed play and kind of forgot everything I wanted to do. Hi. How are you guys doing? Can you believe it's May already? I'm floored. This is the first time in my life that I've had a yearly language plan. And among other plans, this entire stack of papers that I now carry around because I can't fit myself into a regular notebook. I feel too confined. So I just use a plastic cover to carry around my various lists of things. And my language plan is somewhere in this list. I thought it was in the first 3 pages, but it's gotten lost. So I did a lot of revamping on my podcast and it got lost. But what I want to say is that I figured out it's not 2 chapters a week. I have 15 chapters in the HSK2 book, and I thought it was 2 chapters a week, and I reconfigured it and found it. I reconfigured it, and it's not. It's actually more than that because I only have 6 weeks, and one of the weeks is actually gone. Technically, today is May 2nd when I'm recording this. Today is May 2nd. Today is Wednesday, May 2nd, because I know I'm working tomorrow and it's Thursday tomorrow. Anyway, okay, so there's that. So I'm almost at the end of week 2 and I'm working on unit 3. That's not great. But I'm glad I caught this at the beginning of the 6 weeks because now I can massage it. So I reconfigured it. So some weeks have 2 chapters and some weeks have 3 chapters. I tried to coordinate that with the weeks I'm working less have 3 chapters, and the weeks I'm working more have 2 chapters, except for this week when I'm working 2 days out of the week and I have 3 chapters to do, which seems like it would be doable because I don't have to finish absolutely everything in the chapter. I just have to get through most of it. And yet, here I sit on May 2nd. Sorry, it's really, I think it's Gobi season. Gobi Desert, sand goes over, what is it called? Sandstorm season. You can see the particulate matter outside today and this week, actually, and my sinuses are going crazy. And so if I keep touching my nose, this is one of the millions of reasons why I'm awkwardly touching my eyes and noses. I don't have noses. So this week I'm supposed to do 3, 4, and 5. Next week, 6 and 7, because I'm working and I'm working out of town, so I'll probably do less. The week after that, 3 chapters. Week after that, 3 chapters. And the final week is 2 chapters. So technically, I only have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, half of the weeks are 2 chapters and half of them are 1 chapters. But I'm glad that I caught that and I wasn't doing 2 chapters a week. And then at the last week, figured out that I had to do like 6 chapters because I was super far behind. So I'm glad that that happened. There are still tiny bits of chapters 1 and 2 that I haven't done yet, but since I want to build in review as I go, I think it actually works out really well to go back and do those tiny little exercises as I'm doing the current week's exercises. That way I'm constantly reviewing that vocabulary and that grammar and those themes, because they are still kind of themed things. As you can see from chapter 3, it's the red one on the left is mine, or Zhuobian Naga Hangsu de Shi Order. I don't have blending down yet, nor do I have my tones down. But hey, it sounded better than a year ago. I don't think I was doing sentences a year ago. But anyway, so that's the red one on the left is mine. Again, it's not the sentences that I think are going to be useful going forward, but I think the vocabulary I'm learning will be useful going forward. So what does each chapter entail? Again, there's the listening parts with the 3 listening parts, which I've gone over ad nauseum, so feel free to dig into the videos. When I have something to say about those, I will come back and say, oh, actually I do. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you some funny things that are happening with that. But after the listening, then they have 1, 2, in the reading section, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to the reading section. So it's almost doubled the reading activities that you do, which is good because that's the stuff I like to do and the stuff I'm much better at. So I like that they have increased that from HSK1 to HSK2. Pronunciation, they have 2 parts where you're playing with the stress of the language, and I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to do. I'll see as time goes on. It is important. It's something I'm doing that I'll show you with the listening, but I'm not sure I want to do it the way they're doing it. Ex-language teacher. I've got my methods. Then they have some things where you match characters based on radical. Super easy. Again, I spent the first 8 months studying the radicals and playing with the meaning and the sound and tracing them and all that kind of thing. So identifying radicals is very easy for me. Remembering what they're called and the exact meaning, not necessarily. Nothing stays in my brain forever. I am human! And then they have you guessing some vocabulary, and I have the ability to trace if I want to, but I generally don't do that. And that's the workbook. What I'm doing is, I like the workbook. I don't like the course book. I tore them all up, and I put them into chapters. So this is chapter 3, the workbook and the course book. The course book is super explicit. They give you the information, they give you the grammar charts, they give you the many different conversations to practice. It's very, very set up for an interactive classroom setting, ones like language classrooms I used to teach. But even then, I used to cut up the book in different ways to make the activities even more active than they are, into even more of a discovery method than just giving the information to the students. Because I think most people do well when they discover things, not so much when they're just given it and then told to memorize it. Not everybody, but in general, and definitely me. So after looking, I didn't use the course book for HSK1. I started with the workbook. By the time I figured out there was a course book, I was pretty far along in the workbook and it felt very manageable, and I like that way of doing it, so I just stuck with the workbook. For HSK2, I decided to get both, and although I'm not learning from the course book and then practicing in the workbook, I'm doing it in the reverse. I do find that when I'll write my questions down as I'm doing the workbook, and then I'll look through the course book, which is the colorful version. I'll look through the course book, and as you see here, I might write some stuff down. I might circle some things. I'll talk about Delilah in a minute. I'll circle some things, and I'll look for things that I have questions about, and then I'll use the course book more of a reference sheet. And so I don't know if I'll do that going forward for other levels of HSK, but for level 2 I'm going to try it out and see if it works. I may not want the course book for HSK level 3 or 4 or whatever. Who knows? I have no idea, but that's what I'm doing for HSK 2. Again, I learn much more from struggling and discovering it myself than I do from being explicitly told what something means. Wish I knew all of this 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I started to learn. Yeah, 30 years ago when I started to learn my first language. Would have made my life so much easier had I ignored all of the advice of my language teachers who were teaching to a method that doesn't really work with my brain. How can you teach to everybody's different method? That is the problem with the language classroom. But I want to tell you the fun Delilah story. Well, let me show you what I'm doing with the listening. So I'm not shadowing so much because the conversations are still really fast for me. I'm saying some things as I'm reading them. I have the transcripts. I blew them up to 18 font, not just regular font, which I think was like 12. And I'm underlining the words, as you can't see in that one. Here you can see in some of these. I'm underlining the words as I recognize them. And there's a lot of them that I don't recognize. And then if there's a phrase or some characters which could be words that I don't know, I'm circling them in pencil. And as I go back and re-listen, which I'm re-listening a lot, is re-listen a word? Yes, it is. Okay, so re-listen, I'll do that. And then when I finally recognize where the words are in the circled things, I'll erase the circle and then do the underlines that I'm doing. The underlines are just different words. So it'll be like one line is this one is one word, and then the 2 lines, that's another word. So it's just separating the different words. I did this when I was working on the reading book that I tried to use, the graded reading book, which I really look forward to going back to once I get more vocabulary. I think it'll be less of a cognitive load and I'll be able to get more out of that once maybe that's what I'll do after HSK3. Ooh, or maybe a break between 2 and 3. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. So you can see I'm underlining a lot, which kind of feels nice, like I'm identifying. There's some that I haven't even circled because I'm just like, I just don't even know. But then the circled ones again, I'm like, I don't know what that is. But as I study the Lightner box vocabulary, as I studied the HSK2 vocabulary with the Lightner box method, I'm hoping that I'll start to recognize the circled ones, and that I'll erase them, and then I'll be able to identify the words and underline them, and that'll happen as I go on. And it's already happened to some degree. But like I said, the listening still feels really fast for me, so it's really, really hard to identify words. I'll try to listen to the listening first while looking at the actual activity in the workbook, and then I will go back and follow it here. I'm not as much concerned with getting the answers right as I am getting more used to hearing the language and understanding what's happening. Learning where the word breaks are is a challenge, and I really want to have some sort of idea by the time I take the HSK2 test. That is my main listening goal, is to be able to identify where the words are and what I'm listening. If I understand everything or not isn't as important as do I understand where the words are, I think. Because I can look up words, or I can ask, what does blah mean, right? Or I can ask, what is blah? Shema Fandian. Is that how you even say it? I have no idea. What is, Shema Fandian? I don't know. If I don't know that sentence, what is Fandian? I mean, I know Fandian's room, sorry. It's one of the vocab I've been studying this week. But if I hear a word, I'm sure if I say some form of Shema, which is what, and the word, then people would rephrase it. I don't know, or maybe point. Maybe they say nigga, naga, whatever, or this, that, whatever, you know? They would tell me stuff other than that. So, but being in it to identify what the word is really hard listening-wise for me right now, which makes it hard to find in reading because you have to know the word, at least in sound, in order to identify it in writing. So they're so intricately connected right now, which is not something I knew a year ago. Yeah, which is something I know now. Delilah, Delilah. I wish I knew a song with Delilah. I know there are songs with Delilah, and I really want to sing them for you right now, even though my voice is crap. But here's the deal. In the just listening to the chapter 3 listening, I heard something that sounded like Delilah. And they do put names of people, like Dahweh is the name they keep putting over and over and over again. I keep hearing, and in, I think HSK1 I shared with you that it really tripped me up the first few times I heard it, because I was like, I can't find this word anywhere in Pleco. It's not in any of the 150 vocabulary words. I can't find it in the workbook. Like, what is this word? It turned out being a name, but they never taught you names. They just threw it in there. So I thought, for some reason, they have an English name in here. Is Delilah even English? I don't know. They have a Western name, let's just say. And I was really confused, so I wrote next to my listening, Delilah, name, question mark. You can tell I've crossed it out because I figured out what it was. And if you're looking at this sentence, you probably already know what it is, right? Delilah. Now there's other things here. Let's see if I can remember that. I don't remember what the first one is. Oh, then this one. Oh no, it is song new. I forget what milk is, but it's like, give milk of come. No, I'm directly translating this one badly. I don't truly know what the meaning of this sentence means yet. But it's like song, and then this is milk. It's new something. Delilah. It might be a different, it's probably not the possessive form of duh in this one. And then this is come, and I don't know what la is doing there. Is that a past tense la, or is that a different la? La has a lot of different hats, just like Zai has a lot of different hats, just like la and duh. They all have different hats, and I wish they were different characters in different sounds, but they are not. They refuse to be single one-trick ponies. That's redundant. They refuse to be one-trick ponies. They want to do many different things. So I'm not sure what they're doing there, which makes it hard to understand the sentence. But the second part of the sentence is ni chu, let's see if I can read this backwards. Ni chu kai men ba. So it's you go, oh, this must mean something. Because alone this is open gate. But like, how about? Nah, I don't know. The point is, Delilah is not a name in the sentence. Clearly it is lie, like come, and then la, which has many different hats it could be wearing, and I'm not sure what the hat is in the sentence, but it's clearly Delilah. And once I saw that in writing, you can tell I had the same question here. Here's Delilah again. Delilah. What is this one saying? This one's also about give. Wait. Where did that one go? Seriously, I'm going crazy. Yeah, because it's also, okay, it's ni ting, I listen. Song, again it's milk. Oh, I don't even remember. Milk. It's the same freaking sentence. Delilah, ni chu kan I sha. I don't know what kan I sha means. I just know that I've seen it a lot. I've heard it a lot in the listening for chapter 3, but I'm not sure what the meaning is yet. And I'm not looking up every word or phrase. I'm waiting for it to come up in the vocabulary or in a different context or in the course book when I'm looking through. I'm trying not to look up every word because I want the curiosity to be there until I find the answer. So I'm trying to be patient with the process, and I tend to learn better that way. Whereas if I look up every word, I'll just get frustrated that I have so much to look up, and I'm trying to get used to the sounds, identify the words, and get the meaning as it comes in the layers of re-listening and re-listening and re-listening and re-listening. I'm really doubting that re-listening is a word right now, but there you have it. So I really truly don't understand the meaning of these two sentences, but they both have to do with going to get milk? I don't know. When I lived in Taiwan in 2003, I had so many people repeatedly, despite the fact that papaya milk was one of the most popular things that people drank there, constantly tell me how Asians don't eat or drink dairy. And in my last apartment in Shanghai, and I understand these are two very different places, that mainland China and Taiwan are two very different places, and 2003 and 2018 are two very different time periods. But just to tell you how different quote-unquote Asians view dairy now, our next door neighbors, both of our next door neighbors got milk delivery every morning. And I know this because the delivery man would scream as he went up the stairs. We were only on the second floor, and he would scream and clunk the metal or the glass water bottle or milk bottles. He would absolutely like they would just bang up against each other, and then he'd slam them down on the ground. How they didn't break, I have no idea. But every morning they would get milk delivery. So I feel like these sentences should be dedicated to my friendly neighbors who got milk delivery. I miss you guys. They were so nice. I'm in a gigantic apartment complex now that feels a little bit less friendly, but still nice neighbors, but no milk delivery in the morning. So I think of them when I think of these sentences that I don't fully understand yet. How tangent-like was that? Anyway, so it's something about giving milk and coming to give milk. Are they delivering milk to each other? I don't know. What is the question? Lila. So who is coming? Maybe they're talking about the milk delivery man. I really don't know. Don't bother telling me. I'll figure it out as I'm going. And that's part of the process. And believe it or not, this maddening process of slowly understanding more and more of the listening each time I touch it actually really helps me layer the language in my brain. I'm sure it would drive some people crazy because they would really want to understand each part of the exercises they're working on until they move to another part, but that doesn't work for me. I really need to learn, I need to be confused. It's just how my brain works. And again, I wish I understood this years and years ago, but at least I'm recognizing it now. So I know that Delilah's not Delilah. So when I hear it, I can't wait to hear it in the wild. I'm seriously going to do an Instagram video like 5 seconds after it happens. The first time I hear Delilah in the wild, out in Shanghai or wherever I am in China, I'm going to seriously go crazy. Because I spent the better part of a morning going, why are they using Delilah as a name after all it was Dawei as a name, and then suddenly we're talking about Delilah. So when I finally heard it and saw it and it made sense, at least in characters it made sense. It doesn't make sense in meaning yet. It's probably not even a word. Let's just be clear. I don't think Delilah is a word. I think that it's 1 or 2 words that are slurred together. It could be even 3 words that are slurred together. But if they're duh and la or particles, then it could be 1 word for all I know. But what I know is that these clearly go together because they are slurred so much together that it sounds like 1 word. But it's probably not. But when I hear it in the wild, I'm going to go crazy in a good way, because then it will be like, hey, that does sound like the listening. It does sound like it's all slurred together. So that's pretty cool. So, update. I'm supposed to do the rest of chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5. It is Wednesday night. I work Thursday and Friday. Pretty busy Saturday, so we'll see how far I get. I feel like I'm touching the listening a lot more often than I was last week, and that is part of the goal. I was even listening to, because I have the listening in 18 font, I was listening on the train today and just kind of folded the paper in half and just kind of looked at that. So it didn't feel like I was studying on a train and people were like, what you doing? That kind of thing, because that's awkward. It's awkward for me because there are all these conversations that could start that I can't understand because I can't speak yet. Really, I can't have conversations. So, yeah. So there's all that. So that's cool. So I like the fact that I can do this anywhere, and I like the fact that I got 2 of the 3 listenings done just on the metro trip, and I did the 3rd one tonight when I came home. So I feel like I can do the listening more anywhere than before. So I can listen to it more frequently and hopefully get more used to the words and where the spaces are sound-wise. That's my biggest problem now, is I've kind of put where the spaces are written-wise on hold, because there aren't any. Technically, it shouldn't even be on hold. I should no longer even have the question, where are the spaces? The spaces in written Chinese don't exist. End of question. It's just over. And yet, it's there. But in sound, I'm trying to figure out, I have this theory that they stop mid, because there's like, okay, most words in Chinese are 2-syllable or 3-syllable. There's a lot of 1-syllables, like wo, I, sai, which has a million different meanings, apparently. A lot of the numbers are 1 word, like ba, or yi, sun, she, ba, liu, qi. You get the idea. Those are all 1 words, right? There's a lot of 1 words. Then you have 2 words, mama, papa, Joguai, Yoguai, left, right. There's a lot of 2 words, right? 2-syllable words. Then there's 3-syllable words. And there's are there 4? There's probably 4. Oh, there's like a transportation one that's 4. I think that was in chapter 2. Oh, now you're going to make me think. I had this really great point that I was going to make, but now I feel like I need to show you an example of a really long word. I'm not carrying around chapter 2 anymore. Wait. Wasn't I going to do 5-minute videos? There it is. Bus. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes! It's a 4-syllable word. Gong, gong. Oh, here's all of my chapters of the workbook and the course books torn up and stapled together. Gong, 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 chi, chu. 4-syllable word. Right there. That means bus, I think. So, okay, but most of them are 2-syllable or 3 syllables. That's the most popular words are 2 syllable and 3 syllables. Generally, at least at the level I'm at, that's what I'm seeing. Okay. I have this theory that most words are said, if they're 2 syllables, they're said like 1 syllable is attached to the previous sound and the second syllable is attached to the next word sound. I don't have anything to back this up yet because I'm just trying to identify the words first. Then I want to do kind of my own blending exercise and see where the blending is happening. But I need to find the words first before I can see where the sounds are transferring over to the different words. They're not going both directions, they're going in one direction. We don't really speak in both directions. That would be, God, talk about a hard language to learn if a language did that. So there's that. So I want to by the end of HSK2, that's my second listening goal, I suppose, is I want to confirm or deny that theory. Where is the blending happening? Is it split up like that, where the 2 syllables of a 2-syllable word are literally kind of in the different parts of the sentence? Now, to be really kooky with this, I'm doing a lot of podcasting, and unfortunately, because I and all like freaking crazy, which you guys get to hear, but I'm editing out of my podcast because I don't edit videos. I suck at editing videos, even more than I suck at editing podcasts, but I have a free software for my podcast, and YouTube took away their editor a few months ago, so I stopped editing these. Sorry about that. Anyway, point being, in the podcasting application, you see sound. You've seen those things where sound is kind of like, it looks like peaks and valleys. Wait, peaks and valleys, yes. And so you see it like that. It looks very scientific-y. And I see that a lot of the end sounds, especially my consonant end sounds, are separate than the word that I'm saying it is. See, I just did it, separate. I've noticed that when I'm listening and editing out via the software, I notice that I do that in English. And I don't know if I am doing that, if other people do that, or if I'm the norm or if I'm the anomaly when it comes to that. Because if that's true, then my theory in Chinese is they're just doing what we do in English. So it's not that different, so why is it so hard for me to hear? Anyway, these are all theories at this point. I hope to have more answers than questions by the end of HSK2, at least for the vocabulary and the grammar structures and sentences that I'm seeing now. I do not want to make these assumptions for all of the Chinese language because there's a whole lot of the language that I will not be exposed to for a very, very long time. I've been watching a lot of videos by Steve Kaufman, who is probably the most sensible language learner I have ever heard. He is seriously, if you haven't checked out his channel, please do. He's really good. He's been he started language learning a really long time ago, before all of these newfangled technologies have been out there or came out, and he has his methods, and his methods is very reading based too, which is another reason that I adore some of his viewpoints on language learning. And there's some things I don't agree with him. Of course, language learning is very personal, but I do agree with a lot of stuff he says. And he was talking about people keep asking him how long it should take to learn a language. And he was saying for these kinds of languages that are this similar to, like if you're coming from English, which I am, these kinds of languages would take a certain amount of hours. These would take a certain amount of hours. And I think Chinese was, if you're coming from English, would take about, was it 2,000 hours? Which he was breaking it down to, because he is a practical person, like 500 hours. 1.5 hour a day would be about 500 hours a year, I believe. And I don't know that I'm doing that much consistently. I feel like I do more like 2 or 3 hours one day, 1 hour another day, and a couple of days of burnout after doing that for a number of days in a row, and then I'll come back and go full force again. So it really, I don't know, I don't actually keep track of how much I study, but I feel like hearing the 2,000 hours to be confident enough to start learning within the language, not just learning from learning content. I feel like that number makes me feel a lot better about where I am after a year of studying, especially after having only started looking at full sentences in in mass starting January of this year. Like I really, really was focused on tiny isolated chunks of words, mostly last year. Again, I started with radicals and with writing, and then I went on to some words, and that didn't work so great. So then I started doing HSK stuff in January of this year, and now it's May. So I'm feeling pretty, thinking of that 2,000 hour rule, I think that feels really good. Feels really good, because after a year I'm like, I can't believe how low my language level is reading-wise, but then I think of that, and I think of the things I can identify in reading, and I don't question them at all. The things I know, and that feels really good. And when I look at the Hansa characters, and I know that that means that, I can't believe I can read that. It's not a lot, but it feels really good, because it feels like it's in there. It feels like it's not coming out, and it's not going to get forgotten. I just have to build on it so I can read more. Okay, this video has gotten ridiculously long. Anyway, I have to go watch a video because it's my day off, and I'm going to have some fun. So, have a wonderful day, and as always, I look forward to your questions and comments and feedback and your experiences with Chinese or with any other language. What did you ever do something, did you ever try to learn a language? Here's a question. Did you ever try to learn a language a certain way and then leave it and come back and try a different way and realize that that fit you more than the ways you were trying? Would love to hear your stories below. Language learning is so intensely personal that the best thing you can probably do is to figure out if something works for you, and if it doesn't, get rid of it and try something else. So, I'm not really in a place to give language learning advice considering my level, but there you go, I just did anyway. Satchian and Sheshe for listening to, there's a blended sentence. Thank you for listening to this really long video. More soon.